I suppose the good part about that is that it won't be a few minutes of me staring at the monitor waiting for you guys. I can actually start, but please help me remember to hit record. I'm gonna have to put a post-it on my screen because I will forget and that'll suck. I forgot this morning. Yeah, so I'm just babbling as we're waiting. I went to this like, it's like a teacher interactive training workshop thingy that's going on throughout the week, and they're recording everything, so I don't have to be there because I'm not going to be able to. But they do all kinds of cool, like, collaborative, interactive projects, so that, like, in your classes you can be, like, the Zoom thing is, you know, not so you staring at my face for, you know, 3 hours or whatever. They have like lots of really fun interactive projects that also get you kind of thinking and troubleshooting. So we had some fun projects. One was like a visualization project where we like doodled. There's like some sketch doodling stuff in there, which I'm a big fan of. There was like a 3D paper thing. We had like a 7-minute project where we had to just have paper, a glue stick, and scissors, and we had to make something in 7 minutes. So I tried to make a boring ball, and then I thought I was so clever, and people made the coolest stuff in 7 minutes. I was like, wow, here's my ball. But yeah, super fun, and I'll kind of share what I learn as we go. I have access to the videos for like 6 months.
That's how I feel in all of the graphic design classes.
Yeah, you're like, oh yeah, I rule, and then you see everyone else's project and you're like, wah, 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 right? But when you look back at your stuff later, you won't have that super judgmental thing, and you'll probably appreciate a lot of your projects even more than you did before you were let down by seeing your your cohorts' projects. Because that happens to me all the time, where I'll remember how I felt about it in the moment, and when I look back, I'm like, you know, that was pretty damn good. Like that was a pretty awesome thing. So don't despair. Time is a magical creature. Okay, we got 14 now. 12:02. I know 2 people said they were not coming today, so we're pretty close. But yeah, the workshop is through ISTE, which is International Student Teacher Science Technology Education. Yes, something like that. Student techno, I don't know. But they try to kind of like help teachers be better teachers. And it's kind of K through college, but they have super fun workshops. So, oh, did anybody do computer science in high school? Did any of you? No. I had one student that went to Franklin, and I used to go do talks at Franklin. They have like a nice, pretty nice program there.
My school offered CS, but I didn't take it because I didn't feel smart enough.
Oh my God, see, that's the problem. It's like, you don't have to be smart to do computer science. You don't, you just have to be stubborn. Okay, let's see. I'll start working on the agenda. So I realized one thing is that because we have shorter class time together and you will be more dependent on like really a roster for the week of you to of what you should be working on, that I added some things to Basecamp to kind of help out with that, because I'm trying. Share screen. Okay, so in the class Basecamp, go back. I've added in docs and files. There's a weekly work breakdown. I couldn't think of a better name. The WWB. And in there, I'll have basically like what you can work on for the week. You are totally welcome to go forward and back and whatever, but this is sort of like the pace that the class is going to be going through as a class. So I added the stuff from last week, which was turn in homework 1. That links to the Basecamp page, and then
I'm not sure what. Sorry to interrupt. I'm not sure what you're trying to. We can see your email. That's it. I don't know if that's
great.
what you want us to
That's
see.
fantastic. That's really great. Thank you for saying that. I'm just gonna. Oh, I was like sharing this screen. What a weird screen. Okay, opening chat too. So many unread emails. Yes, it's true. I have 2 jobs and I'm a Girl Scout leader, and I work at this other place with Stephen Lee, actually, and it's a lot of things. It's just a lot of things. Okay, here's what I was showing you. How many unread emails do I have? Okay, on the class Basecamp, there is docs and files, and there is weekly work breakdown. So I'm adding folders. I think this will be manageable. We'll have 3 project folders, and then all the homeworks will just be in homework because that'll be easier. And then resources, I pulled the video page out of resources because I figured you'd want like it to be higher up. And so weekly work breakdown. Here's week 1. It's got the homework. That'll link to the homework page. This is Ducket. I meant to just always have the link to Ducket, but if you search for John Ducket free PDF, it'll come up. And I'm sorry about that. I had a link somewhere, but not in a place that was easy. So
the PDF that you have on the PSU Interactive Media wasn't working for me. It wouldn't load, so I'm not sure what's up with that link.
Yeah, I noticed that yesterday too, and so I ended up linking to the original, and yeah, and I'll just switch that out. I don't know what happened when it uploaded. It broke. So okay, so there is that, and then your journal prompt will be here every week by Wednesday, because generally I kind of want to feel how the week is going before I add that journal prompt. So here's week 1, and then weekly work breakdown. Here is week 2. So here we are. So what I did was I kind of took the knowledge that we started on last week with HTML and CSS, and I started adding kind of follow along videos where you'll be adding stuff to your homepage. You don't have to add it to your homepage. You can add it to another page, but I just thought it would be like a fun way to spruce it up. So I go through images, linking images, Google fonts, and then background images. So yeah, we'll go through that later. And then the next one I'm posting probably by end of day today is starting to make multi-column layouts with, it's called Flexbox. It's like a simple grid system that you can use in CSS, or it is CSS code. And then if any of you had issues with your setup, you can go through this video and kind of just like check what you might be missing. And I'll go through some common things that people were having trouble with. And then these 2 space start talking about margin and padding and just like getting things arranged and width and height of things. So there's kind of 2 different series going on. This is basics, and this is like kind of more layout. So there are all these videos there. I try to keep them around 10 minutes, more or less. And then I'm gonna add creating wireframes video, which I'm gonna do a little bit of a demo on today, soon. And then for your homework 2, you'll be working on your project 1 wireframes, and we'll talk about project 1. There is, this is in the syllabus, there's a maximum number of homework points available. and that is 45, and they're all 5 points each. I'm gonna have a couple optional homeworks that you're welcome to do in place of a homework. And so the Wired response paper, the Wired 25 conference, I added a response paper assignment here that you can read through, which is basically watch 1 to 3 videos that are about technology and answer a few prompts and write up to about a page of writing. It's like 350 to 500 words response paper. So I'll have a few optional homeworks in that homework folder too as we go along. And then this week, we're looking at chapters 2 and 3, and then chapter 11, which is color in CSS. So I'm trying to kind of keep these chapters aligned with what we're working on, but there'll be a little bit of a slip. Sometimes it'll be a review, sometimes it'll be new stuff. And then the design journal prompt, I'm thinking about making it about discomfort, because that was something we, one of the workshops I went to this weekend was about feeling discomfort, and that like learning is all about discomfort. Like if you're comfortable learning, you're probably not like pushing yourself enough. And so I was just thinking about this idea of this class is so uncomfortable because you're juniors and seniors, you've got your design chops down, you've passed your sophomore review, and most of you have never coded before. And so I'm like throwing you into the deep end, not giving you much information, and like just expecting you to kind of like hack your way through it. It's a very uncomfortable feeling. On top of that, we're in this weird environment that I'm getting used to, where I realize I've got to like teach things to you in class and then also break them down into little video chunks and then, you know, resend them, and like the just sort of like, how do you organize information so that it's like easier to absorb, all that stuff. So I'm like, I have discomfort, you have discomfort, it's all super uncomfortable. And that's actually like a good feeling, like a feeling that we shouldn't shy away from is kind of the gist. So that's what I'm thinking about. I'll put it up by Wednesday. So there are those. So I will be adding those definitely by Sunday night every week, as you know, as like the agenda for the week. And then by Wednesday, the homework and prompt will be there. Okay, so today I also want to talk a little bit about Git and the videos and project 1. So a little bit more about Basecamp before we move on. No, I guess I'm just going to talk about project 1. Yeah. Questions about Basecamp before we go forward? And I will say that I got a lot of pings and I saw them all. What I try to do is, a lot of you have the same question. So what I'll do is I'll take a question and make a video out of it and post it and try to send it out to everyone via email. I have a page with all my emails that I'm gonna, I need to add a link for on the homepage, but I'm kind of like collecting all that info too. But yeah, it's like, it's kind of impossible to respond to all of them immediately. And I try not to work that much on the weekends generally. So if you don't hear back from me immediately, it's not because I haven't gotten it, it's just that I haven't gotten to it. And I guess you saw my inbox, it's kind of crazy. So, okay, so yeah, pings is a good place. I kind of just try to, you know, I do my check-ins, I check Slack, I check email, I check pings. I like pings probably best because I'll get an email if you ping me. Yeah, okay. So let's go through the setup just to kind of like do a little review. So here's VS Code. I chose VS Code because I want you to use kind of industry standard tools, and all text, like code editors. Yay, Girl Scouts. So all code editors are about the same. This is like my home page. Yeah, so here's week 2. So all code editors are about the same. Most of them allow you to do like auto detecting of tags. And then, and most of them have nice features like they'll give you the line number so that it's easy for you to find errors. Most of them have some sort of like server function. So we'll close this down. So what this does is, like, if I click go live, it kind of spins up a little mini web server on my machine. And the address of that web server is this 127.0.0.1. It's kind of like your home, your local, like there's, I want to find a meme for you guys. I'll send it as a joke later, but there's like all kinds of jokes about, like, instead of saying home, they'll say 127.0.0.1 is like the only place I want to be, or there's no place like one. Oh yeah, that's the good one. There's no place like 127.0.0.1. That's like a really funny geek joke. So it's like a little mini web server, and most code editors do that. And the popular ones are Visual Studio Code, which is now owned by Microsoft. Sublime is another one that is my favorite. It looks very much the same. It will come up in a second. So this is Sublime, kind of the same thing. It's got folder view. It auto fills in tags. If I type them, oh, I lied. It'll auto fill in tags. It's just not doing it right now because it hates me. And then, yeah, so what else? It has a server function. And then, so Sublime Text is quite popular. Atom, ATOM is another one that's quite popular. And then Brackets, which is used quite a bit at PSU. Stephen Lee uses Brackets for his creative coding class and when he teaches DES 341. And that one is an Adobe product and it's also free. So, and then there's BB Edit, which has been around forever and is really fantastic. They're all kind of the same. It's all like user preference. And it's kind of like Coke versus Pepsi. It's very much like that, except it's like Coke versus RC Cola versus Pepsi versus, I don't know, other things. But yeah, this is what Atom looks like. Pretty much the same. I have it really zoomed in. Yeah, so I chose Visual Studio Code because Atom is good, but people were having crashing issues with it, so I cut that one out. I love Sublime Text and you can use it for free, but they really want you to give them money, so they ask for money every once in a while, and that was annoying. So, and then, yeah, so I decided to use Visual Studio Code. So here's my setup, and if I think, mouse over this, it'll show me where this lives. I wonder if I can go, I'm just gonna view in Finder. So if I right click on my file and I reveal in Finder, pull this over. So here's where all my stuff lives. And it is in, for me, it's in users, Alana, sites, and then I have this folder. A few people from the morning class had things still in their downloads folder. You want to make sure that you have your files in a place where they're like safe and you can use them. And yeah, so downloads, not a great place to store stuff. I would put it in documents or just on your desktop somewhere where it makes more sense. If you ever do mess up locally and you have it on GitHub, what you can do is you can just delete it, just say, okay, I need to start over. And then if you go to your repository, or actually if you don't have it, if it says, oh, I can't find your local repository, you can actually go to File and then say Clone Repository, and you can go find it. It'll come up in your list. I have so many that, okay, so you can find it from github.com and click on it and then just bring it down again. So I'll just grab one. Let's see where it's putting it. And then you can kind of tell it where to go. I'll just put this in here. Hit open and then clone it and you can start all over. So you still have a copy. It's up on github.com. Totally choking. Okay, so what is Git anyway? What is this crazy thing? So text editor, kind of get it. You write code, you can have like a local server. But what the heck is Git and GitHub and GitHub Desktop? Git is a revision software. I'm gonna just clear this out. It's a revision software that keeps track of the history of all of your stuff. So I'm gonna move back to my other repository. There's my home page. If I look at history, I can see all these different things that I checked in, and fixed things, I hope, added design prompt, fixed caps, space things, and homework troubleshooting. I can jump back to these. So if I click on one of these, I can kind of see how the code is different. And then I can right click on it and say revert to this commit. So I can go back in time. So if you are checking in your code regularly, you can kind of like get yourself out of trouble. So you're like, okay, cool, this is great, perfect. And then you go to lunch and you come back and you're like, I'm gonna go HTML crazy. And you get so far down like a mess of a rabbit hole that you've like completely destroyed your work. You can actually just roll back to a previous version. So maybe like this fix things, I hope one. If I go back to added design prompt and I say revert, oh, I have to merge stuff. Okay, so I changed the same, here, I'm gonna make this easier on myself. I changed the same line, so it wants me to like fix that. What page is that? Design journal. Right, I'm just gonna make things easier because, okay, clear, oops, how to get things. Okay, I'm going to make a new, I'll just add a new paragraph. Week 5 is where stuff really goes nuts. So that's my new nust. So maybe I'm like, I don't want to scare them about week 5. There's nothing really about week 5. But if I go to changes and I check this in now, week 5 note. So now it's just local. I haven't put it up to github.com. I don't care about github.com right now. I'm just like, well, I don't want to add this actually. Let's go back to fix things, I hope. So I'm going to revert to this commit. And now if I go back and look at my file, it should get rid of that. Come on, GitHub desktop. Don't embarrass me. Revert to this commit. There are no changes. Oh, so we've reverted here. Okay. Why are you still there? This is where I'm like, because I don't know why it's doing that. Maybe if I go back to week 5 note, it won't be there. Revert, maybe it's because I like did things weird. Now I'm in week 5 note. Oh, geez. Well, I promise things will roll back. And I'll do a demo because I'm terrible at class demos. I have like demo disease or something when I try to do things live. Okay, so what is Git really? It's like it's software and it keeps its own information. So it keeps it in this file, this folder called .git. So if I go in here, and we can kind of look and see what sort of stuff so here are my commit messages. So if I look at this, I'll just open it in VS Code. This is kind of all the records that Git is keeping track of. So you can think of Git as like the engine that does all this stuff. Are you gonna open it or what? Oh no, probably won't. Okay, we'll open it in Sublime. Okay, so I guess right now it just has one message because it's in a different directory, I guess. Where am I right now? Oh, in PSU Interactive Media, I guess I just have one commit message right now. But it has all these like things that it keeps track of locally. So let's look at the Git. .git, where are you? CD. Okay, so here's the commit message. Here's my configuration. So here's how it knows, here's how this Git engine that's like running on my machine, here's how it knows where to push stuff to. Here's that remote thing. So it's like keeping track of what is the origin. And so in this case, this is my origin, is like my github.com, my username, and then this Git repository. And it's got like, there's no description for it. What else do I have? Logs. Here's a bunch of data about, okay, so here's a bunch more commit messages. This one says smaller images, added project 1 links, added L image. So these are sort of like all the commit messages from the whole history of this. And we can see these here in history. So like there's that one-to-one. So Git is an engine, and it's like kind of built to be used with Unix, which is like this command line tool, but that's horrible. And I don't want you guys to have to learn how to do Unix on top of HTML, on top of CSS, on top of JavaScript. So GitHub Desktop works with that like Git engine that's doing all this work behind the scenes so that you can actually visually see what's going on. So that's kind of what GitHub Desktop is, and it works locally. It saves all your changes locally so it can keep track of like version history. And then github.com is a really popular place to store your Git repositories. And they're both owned by Microsoft. They used to be like independent company, but they're GitHub Desktop and github.com are both Microsoft products, so they work together. So Desktop knows how to connect to github.com and push your stuff up there. There's other places that you can also store your code, but we're using github.com because you can like then make your website live and not have to pay for, like most of my projects are on this like private server, so that I have to pay monthly for the server and like host my files there. GitHub lets us do it for free. And so we get used to GitHub, which is great. It's a tool that you'll use if you write any code in the future. And we don't have to worry about like servers. there is a PSU server that we can use, but it's like, it's kind of a pain. It's private. You have to have all this like security to like log into it all the time. Like Beyond Duo, it's like another one too, I think, that we had to use. So it was a pain in the butt. So that's kind of like Git and GitHub. I'll talk a little more as we go too, but that's sort of like the general gist of it. So the powerful thing about it, and Adobe has something similar for design files, is that you can work collaboratively with GitHub. So I can work on the same code base with a whole bunch of other people, and Git is really good at saying, oh yeah, I know how to weave that code together. Even if it's the same file, it can kind of like figure out how to like fit stuff together. And if it can't figure it out, it's really good at saying, hey, I don't know which one you want, so why don't you go in and pick for me? So teams use it a lot to develop code. And I think it would be fun to try to do like a group project later on, just see what that feels like, because it's a little funky. But yeah, so yeah, keeping like a really detailed version history and being able to work collaboratively on code bases together. It does not do good with large files. It's not like a file server at all. Like it's really just for code, which is, the code files are really tiny. Image files and video files are giant. And so you generally don't want to store them on GitHub. And so for video, a lot of times you'll want to use Vimeo, but there's also a new feature that just came, or a new application that came out. It's called like Git large file or something, and you can kind of use that tool. So we'll talk about that as we go on. That is Git. Let's see. Yeah, so on DES 341, I'm trying to get all the videos listed here as well, so that you have like kind of a one-stop shopping page, and all the class videos will be listed here. This one this is the one I had to delete, so you have the morning one to reference, and then yeah, and I'll add day 3. It takes a bit of time to get it up there, but they will be added hopefully by the end. I just got really caught up on this whole copyright issue with when I played the movie clip, it like dinged me. So I was like, what do I do? Do I move to Vimeo? Do I keep it on Zoom? And I decided, nope, I have 2 versions. I say about the same thing. I'm just going to delete it. So, okay, so here are all of the shorter videos. I try to say how much time they take. So they're between 10 to 15 minutes each. Let's talk about project 1. So, oh, back here. I have posted in Basecamp. My dog is loudly chewing. Let's do a dog break. Doggies. Hey, Violet. Lazies. In Basecamp, a new, oh, right, I had my screen shared, so they were tiny. You'll have to get the full dog later. So in Docs and Files, there's the project 1 folder, and we'll talk about the requirements, and then I'll show you a few more projects that maybe you didn't see last time. And I've added, oh, right at the very top, I've added examples from other terms. So this project is really about taking an idea, thinking about 4 parts of it, and then each page, so there'll be like a home page, and then there'll be like a page for each one of those like separate ideas. So it could be pollinators, and so there would be a bee page, a bat page, a moth page, and something hummingbird page, right? So each one of those pages, you want the whole site to feel cohesive, but you want to bring out like some essence of that sub page, so that like the layout, and it might be typography, color, I don't know what else, imagery, content, something slightly different about each page, right? So the process of it will be, first figure out what you want to do as your project. Do some research on content. Do some wireframing exercises, and I'm going to kind of walk through the beginning processes. And then once you kind of figure out what general layout you want to do, then to work on like a digital wireframe. So that's what I'll go over today. Let's see. You'll be using your design journal to kind of help with documentation. And yeah, and then once you get through the wireframe stage, you're going to be making the design in whatever tool you're comfortable with. I will be teaching a lot of Figma this term because PSU in the future is going to start using it for UX classes. It's free. It's very, very well used and popular. It's got a lot of great tools. But that said, you should use right now whatever's comfortable to you. My goal this term is to introduce you to Figma and get you to play with it, but I also want you to kind of do your best work, and this is a code class, not a design class. So that said, use your tools, but you'll want to make a static, like, you know, pixel perfect design comp that's just like a flat image, and I'll show you some examples where it's basically like your roadmap. So you've got your whole page laid out and designed the way you want it, and then that will be kind of your stepping off place for like coding. So a design comp, let's look at, I'll do it after wireframes. Let's go step by step. I'm always jumping ahead. Okay, so for project one, I decided I want to do a project about Ruth Bader Ginsburg because she's the Supreme Court Justice that just died of old age. She was a magical lady. And I don't actually know a whole lot about her history. So I got myself a book, probably won't be able to read it till December. And so I thought, okay, cool, well, I'll use this as my demo project. So the first thing I did was choke to death from talking too much. I did some Google searching. I'm gonna get a mint. And I found this site that was perfect. So I looked for like Ruth Bader Ginsburg's most important court rulings of her career or something. And I found this site. It's Teen Vogue, so I'm like, perfect, it'll be really like succinct. So I went through, and this is like, what's the name of this? 8 Ruth Bader Ginsburg Supreme Court rulings to know about. So I thought, okay, cool, I'll pick 4. So I went through and I tried to pick 4 that were like covering 4 different topics. And the ones that I came up with were, I just kind of opened up a new Pages doc, and I said, okay, the Ledbetter versus Goodyear tire was about gender pay and equity. The Obergefell versus Hodges was the one that granted same-sex couples to the right to marry in all 50 states. This one, Sessions versus DiMaia, was striking down legislation that allowed certain non-citizens to be expelled. So that one's like immigration. And then the other one was a mental rights decision that basically said that individuals with disabilities, including mental illnesses, which was the 2 parties in this case, that they were, it enabled them to integrate into society versus being locked up. So a lot of people, I mean, it's crazy this 1999, this has been an issue that's been slowly improving, but yeah, if you had any mental illness, a lot of times you just get locked up. And so this one was like for rights for mental health illness, and I think those were 4, right? So those are the 4 that I chose. So I have mental health, I have same-sex marriage, I have immigration rights, and whatever the 4th one was. Oh, gender pay equality. So that was my start. And so then let's switch over. So then and then I started a let's see if I have it up, a mood board. And for website mood boards, I love Pinterest because it's a website. It's a website where you can pin other websites. You can add notes about them. If the thing that you're looking at is typography related or palette related or content hierarchy or layout, you can add notes to your own pins. And so here's where I started. I thought, okay, well, she's called Notorious RBG because it sounds like Notorious B.I.G. and he was this famous rapper. They both were born and raised in Brooklyn, so that's like something they have in common. And so I kind of liked that, you know, she's called Notorious RBG. It's so hard to say. So I started looking at like 90s rap albums just to get like a feel for like layout, typography, and everywhere I looked, it was like everything had this kind of deep orangey red with some sort of lighter yellow. So I'm thinking that my palette might end up being something like that. So if I kind of look through, let me go to the bottom. I wonder how many RBG Halloween costumes there will be this year. Yeah, so I started down here. I found all these cool posters of her. So there's this like Biggie Smalls album or Notorious B.I.G. album that's like pretty famous, that's like super red, and his face, and then he's got this like gold crown. So I found some images of her that people had done. And then look, it's all this like light yellow. There was a site that I actually colorized some stuff, but no matter where I looked, I just kept running into this like light yellow with like a lot of deep reds. So yeah, and then I love this Lauryn Hill album, so I'm like, maybe I could do like that texture. And then I started thinking about, what do courtrooms look like? I found a bunch of great images of her when she was younger. There's that Halloween costume. And then I started thinking about, what do courtrooms look like? And I looked at all these like courtroom illustrations, and I thought, well, that'd be such a cool style to do for imagery, instead of just having like photos, just sort of courtroom stylize any images I might use. And then I found this one of Taylor Swift. There's a whole article about how she's really hard to do courtroom illustrations of. It was really weird, but I'm a Taylor Swift fan. I'm like a true Swiftie. So then I went down a Taylor Swift tunnel and I came back out. I'm okay, I'm back. And then, yeah, so I found all these like courtroom illustrations of her. And then I thought about, okay, Nav, maybe I'll use like the gavel, or like this is the Blind Lady of Justice, or like a book, or just, I like especially this picture of scales because it's got those chunky chains, and I thought like it kind of goes well with the sort of big chain like wrap thing. I don't know. So just kind of brainstorming, and and I found some like courtroom icons to think about. So I feel like I've got enough to start with. And I kind of decided I didn't want like my nav to be a gavel. It should be more like equal marriage and some sort of image that shows immigration and gender pay equality, you know? So I'm thinking more, I don't know what my nav might be. But I'm ready to start on brainstorming my, whatchamacallit, wireframes. So my first step is going to be to just like kind of go crazy. Let me share my, I'm going to pause for a second because I've been babbling. Questions that have come up in your mind about project one so far. Okay. Okay, cool. I'm going to share iPad. Come on, blue. Zoom, you have to like click it and then you have to make sure that the background turns blue, or else it'll just share your email and then your students will be like, see, I knew you didn't read my email, which is not true. Okay, screen mirroring. Okay, close, open layers. All right, I'm gonna turn you off. Okay, I'm gonna be quicker this time. So, and maybe add to these. There's a great article that I'm gonna send out that's about this guy's process in doing thumbnails for websites. And it's kind of on that principle of sometimes your best ideas come out when you're exhausted, right? That's why school is so magic. So I'm just gonna like, what he does is he has this whole lexicon where he'll say like H is header, F is footer, C is content, N is nav. I'll just do I for image. And he'll just sit with a piece of paper or his sketchbook and just make 1,000 thumbnails. And you want to do it for your homepage and then also your sub pages too. But I always kind of like to start at the homepage because it gives me an idea for the feel of the whole site. So I've been kind of thinking, you know, all right, well, how do I think outside the box? This one right here is like your standard. There's a header with a nav, or maybe the nav's on top of the header, and then there's like maybe a row of images, right? So that's one way to do it. This one over here, this third one, I was kind of digging because it's like a diagonal header. Maybe the nav can kind of like pop down when you mouse over it. Maybe I can have like content over here that like shows up when you mouse over each one of these. It sounded kind of fun to me. So this one was kind of a big winner for me. And then I sort of liked, maybe this one is just like talking about the content of the page, or, you know, the content of the site right in the middle and having things around it. And yeah, you know, like you could have your nav just be the images on the side. And then maybe when you mouse over them, I'll just do like here's my finger. Then some content shows up, right? Who knows? And then there's like a header. Maybe I'll just do like a mobile nav, or, oh yeah, maybe I'll have like something, I guess it would have to be over here. I don't know. Maybe this is like hiding. I'll do another version. And then when you hover over it, I'll do it in blue. Then it like pops, it like rolls over, moves over, and then there's content. I don't know. But just like thinking through ideas, a lot of times I'll like add a note. I don't know, I'll say like nav, ooh, too thick. Moves in on hover. Yeah, and just kind of do a bazillion. The more the merrier. I say like a dozen is good. Maybe I have another one that's like a picture of her in the middle. There she is. And then these can kind of twirl around in a circle. And they'll take you to the different pages. Or like, I don't know, I could also have, I'll just make a new layer. Maybe I want my site to just be one big scroll. So here's page, here's home. Here's, you know, like section 1, section 2, section 3. And so it's just like a single scroll page. And then how would that work? Would there be like dots on the side that would let me navigate? So yeah, I think 12 of like these rough little thumbnails is good. And then what you want to do, sorry, that was so small. Look at that terrible handwriting. Section. Okay, then you want to move on to the next challenge. So here was this idea of having that diagonal header. And I thought, yeah, well, okay, so maybe when you mouse over it, some sort of nav comes up or something. But mostly, I think I'd probably have some like intro text first. Like when you come to the page, it'll be like, this is what this site is. You know, Ruth Bader Ginsburg was a blah, 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 something like that. And then each one of these images, I'll like crop them into like a triangle. And then when I mouse over them, then the content will change. Maybe the image will change slightly when they hover. And so that's like an idea for my homepage. And then once you go through this sort of more like deeper dive and you're like, okay, got it. I'm so down. I'm so good. That's when you want to move to digital. And this is where my demo turns really frightening because I don't have to do wireframes. I just critique them. So I'm really rusty and I'm better Illustrator, but I do want to show you Figma. Okay, somebody tell a joke so I can stop talking for a second.
What do you call a cow with no legs?
Ground beef.
Oh, I have a good cow one. What do cows use to count? A calculator. All right, let me get Figma up. I should get my kid to come in here and do some jokes. Okay. Ta-da. Figma. Figma. I have no Figma. Okay. Oh, right. I need to. I figured out if I go to like Figma workspace, it's hard to start a new one. It was weird for me last time. Has anybody in here used Figma so that you can laugh at me? No? You have? Okay, good. Well, Ariel, please just like shout out if you're like, you idiot, it's right there. Okay, so plus, there's this little plus sign. So Figma lets you do all kinds of stuff. They've got tools for user flows. You can like import templates for like mobile and desktop so that you can like start with, you know, those layouts. There's like libraries you can import for like default buttons and I don't know, stuff, lists and modals and all that stuff. So it's pretty cool. But yeah, it does user flows, wireframes, other tools that I'm spacing on right now. Okay, so here's my page. I'm just gonna draw a big box. Generally speaking, 1440 is a pretty good width to design at because it's like a kind of middle of the road, good desktop size. For project one, we're not gonna worry about mobile right now. So we're just gonna worry about desktop. I'm gonna change the background. If I click on fill, this is hex. Let me change. So it's, I know white is 6 Fs, but you can also change the color format here. So there's hex, RGB, CSS, so you can change color that way as well. And you can save your colors here. Okay, so this is just sort of my screen.
Can I interject?
Please.
It's also way better if you use the frame tool because it acts like an artboard and you can add, you know, grids and other things, and there are set sizes.
Oh, awesome. Okay. Frame me, baby. Okay, 1440. Okay, 43, good enough. Awesome, thank you. And then, yeah, there's grid. You can like, this is the tiniest grid I've ever seen. All right, grid style. Oh, cool, you can search. Do they have a 960 grid? Browse. Let's pull a grid up. Maybe. Oh, fine, you don't have a 960. Anyway, I'll turn off grid. I'm gonna learn all kinds of stuff, and then you'll be like, wow, she's been using Figma for years. Or Ariel will do all of the Figma demos. Okay, so here's my frame. So I'm going to, let's see, I'm gonna do that diagonal for the header. If I can stop clicking wildly. Stop clicking wildly. Oh my God. Click. Okay. I'm gonna make it a little bit wider, actually quite a bit wider. And then I'll rotate it. All right, so this is gonna be my header. And then, ooh, yeah, you get to watch me make, ooh, polygons. I just realized that my students were probably laughing at me in the last one because I was like, oh, I don't know why I'm using the line tool to make triangles. And there's a polygon tool. Okay, so maybe I'll have images like this. Let me line this up with the, all right. I think it should be bigger. I want 4. Okay, and then let's see how I did. So if I option drag them, this looks terrible. We'll just go with it. It's like the 80s. I just did a copy paste. I'm gonna put one over here. And then I'm gonna see if I can magically get one more in this spot if I've done, don't be sloppy and horrible like me. I'm just doing this on the fly. Okay, so that's somewhere around what I was thinking, except for maybe not as crazy. Whoa. Okay, we'll pretend that's perfect. And then so down here, I'll just have some text. And when you first start out, you can just do lorem ipsum. Hey, Ariel, or anybody else, is there an auto generator, or do you just go to lipsum.com for lorem ipsum?
I usually just go to lipsum.com.
What are some of the other funny lipsum generators? Let's find a funny one today. Okay. Pirate lipsum, cupcake. There we go. Cupcake. Ooh, so pretty. Look at that. Okay, I'm gonna get some cupcake lipsum. And so for those that are not familiar, lorem ipsum is text that basically gives you like placeholder text so that your clients aren't like, in the second paragraph. And also it lets you design without having to think about content or worry about content. Back to Figma. Okay, so I'll have some content. I don't really need to worry about, okay, text, Roboto, regular. Okay, fonts for websites. You want them to be, the going trend is between 16 and 20 pixels for body text. So I'm gonna go 20 just to see what that looks like. I'm only gonna really need one paragraph, I think. Okay, so maybe that's like my placeholder text. I want it to be spacey. Let's see. I don't want Roboto. Well, I'll just use Roboto for now. Oh, my screen is crashing. Come back, screen. Come back, mouse. Where are you? Hold, please. There we go. Okay. And then I'll have some sort of header. I think I'll probably right align it. And then I'll probably right align the text. Not sure. But, you know, you start with the wireframing process. You don't want to pull in final imagery, but you do want to have shapes. I'll probably have some sort of color or some differentiator between the header and the rest of the page. So I am going to use that kind of gray area. I'll put my header across here. And then, yeah, you just want to kind of refine it. When you're doing this, think about the fact that websites, you can't control the width of things. So I'll pull up a someone's project. We'll look at Sarah's shoegazers. So people are going to have different sizes. Some, you know, there's like 13-inch screens. So think about like, are you going to have your images stretch? Are you going to have, you know, like, let's go in and see what else is in here. If you're going to have a side nav, is it always going to be percentage? So I think in this case, she does have like 40%, 60%, so that you generally have a pretty good flow, no matter how you shrink and grow the page. So think about things like that. As I said, we won't be worrying about mobile, but you do want to have a little bit of wiggle room, and just think about using percentages instead of like hard pixels. Hard pixels are not your friend. Yeah, and so keep those ideas in mind, like when you're doing your wireframe, like how am I gonna, if I expand this, how are these triangles gonna grow and shrink? So yeah, and you know, like, don't worry too much about design, but if you have these thoughts in mind as you're doing it, it'll be easier to figure out ways around weird issues like that. And yeah, and then once you get like placeholder text and you're refining your wireframes, you want to have like final content so you can really feel like what it's going to feel like. And I'm going to send you a couple videos, or one is an article about all those little thumbnail wireframes, and another one is this like great video about like high fidelity wireframes, that like his wireframes, his gray and black and white wireframes look so good that it just, yeah, it's like mind-boggling. So some stuff to aspire for, but that's kind of that process. And after wireframes are done, then you've spent so much time considering content hierarchy and page flow and page layout that you don't get caught up in all of those little like nuances that you get caught up in when you're designing. So it lets you design based on like a structure versus based on like a design aesthetic. So that's kind of the purpose and process of that. Okay. Project 1. So yeah, let's look at a couple more of those projects. I'm like trying to remember all the other stuff that I should tell you before the end of the day. I'm spacing. Oh, I somehow closed it. Where'd it go? Oh, dang it. Oh, okay, there it is. Shoegazers. Yeah, so this is really your project. The main goal is a home page, 4 sub pages or sections. And you know, it'll be about structure, then it'll be about typography and color and space. And then after that, we'll add an interaction or two to them to sort of enhance the experience. But we're really gonna start from like the ground, you know, the ground up, like building that foundation. Yeah, okay, talk to me, say stuff.
So does Figma give you the code for that structure of the?
Yeah, so that's one cool thing about Figma is that it will generate some code for you. I would prefer that you write your own just because the practice of it will help you, but it'll give you some ideas of things that you can do. The thing is that with all of those programs that will kind of like, I mean, you could export the whole page as HTML, but they don't necessarily make the best decisions. They don't think about responsiveness. They don't think about just like ways of organizing the code that makes sense. So you can kind of get in more trouble than if you just started with like really simple concepts of like boxes in boxes. Because they'll do crazy stuff, like the code that's generated. But for small elements, it can be really nice. Like, let's say you generate a gradient that you really like, you can grab that, you know? Yeah, and then there's also tons of like gradient and shadow generating tools that are really handy that'll generate that code for you. Yeah. What else?
So the homework is to watch the videos and then start the wireframes for the first website.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'd recommend doing the Pinterest process as well. Yeah, I've kind of gone down a road where I spend a lot of effort on UX stuff, and I'm always like, I want to just spend all the time coding. So you all are really good at figuring out how to design stuff, right? So I can remind you of processes that are good. I do want to see that like wireframe because it is a little different for web. But yeah, my thought is kind of like we should code as much as we can in the next 10 weeks. So yeah, that said, I only want to see incredibly exciting designs. Or else I don't know what.
I had another question about web page sizes. Is there like a set size or is it kind of depending on what works for you?
Yeah, so for this one, we're just going to focus on desktop. And so you want it to look good between like 1024 is the smallest kind of desktop. It's actually, it's the landscape of the larger iPad is like 1024. And then, so that's like the small range and the large range. I mean, 2400 would be like really big, but 1440 is kind of the sweet spot. So yeah, and when you're thinking about stuff, like, let me see if I can find an example. There may be a site where you want it to be, you know, oh no. Trying to find projects. Hang on. Timbers. Where's a good example? Well, I'll show you this timber site. This kind of shows what I'm talking about, and maybe I'll just code an example up real quick. Share. Okay, so for this timber site, it was designed probably at about, it had a pretty big screen. So this one, you always want this to be flush left, but this one should have some wiggle room where it gets closer to the player. He's got it kind of like split down the middle here. But yeah, think about that. Like, you kind of want this to be centered within a box. You can't see my hand. That's like between his fist and the side, right? So you're kind of designing with that in mind. And then let's look at his subpages. Roster schedule. Okay, so yeah, this one, it looks like he's got it centered and it's all in black. I am going to code something up real quick. Okay. So yeah, see how his grid doesn't expand to meet the window? This is pretty easily fixable. Trying to figure out, okay, it is expanding, it's just slow. Yeah, it's expanding. Okay, so I'll do a quick demo of like what I'm thinking. So what if you have a site, everything's kittens in my world. I don't even have kittens. I mean, it's not like I like cats, but I'm definitely a dog person. But it's just all about kittens for me, as far as HTML demos go. Okay, go. All right, so kittens. Dang it, with kittens. So let's see. For the purpose of this demo, I'm just going to put CSS up in the header. Don't be like me. This is totally doable, but the problem with it is that it's hard to make it responsive, because what happens with like the CSS file when it's separate from your HTML file is that it can decide what your screen size is and then give you CSS accordingly across your whole site, whereas this can only do style for like a certain page. Okay, so here's my div container, and then I'll have like my main, and then I'll just have a big image. HTTP place kitten. I'll make it. I'll just say, if you're an image, I want you to be 100%. And if you're a container, then you're 100%, and your background color is antique white. And then main, I'll have like a width of, I don't know, 60%. Let's see what horribleness I made. Oh yeah, and then I'll do like the background color of white, and I'll make a border 4 pixel solid tan. Is that a color? Sure, tan. Okay. close my port. And I'm going to do the right click. So you can, one thing is, so when you click go live, that changes to port. Did I do that with this class? The go home, there's no place like, I can't remember, I'm already mixing up morning and afternoon. Did I tell you that there's no place like home joke? Yes, no? I can only see some of you. Yeah, okay, good. I couldn't remember. All right, so I'm gonna right click and I'm gonna say open with live server so that it opens this page. That's not the page. Okay, where are you, kittens? It's like on the desktop. All right, if you ever get really frustrated, you can also do, like, I just wanted to kind of throw a file up real quick. You can actually just drag it on to your browser or say file open and get it. Okay, so here's my kittens website. I got to do a few things so we can see better. So I'm going to give main some padding. And then for my container, I want it to be the height. This is in one of the videos, but instead of saying 100%, which is like 100% of what, you can say, make it 100% of the VH, which stands for viewport height. And your viewport is basically your browser window. So if I hit refresh now, it's gonna automatically fill up that viewport height to whatever I want it to be. And then, so for my kitten, I'm gonna make main be margin auto. I always misspell margin. And then that'll make it center. So now I've got this like floating kitten. And it takes up 60% of the page. But if I get smaller, it's kind of like, oh, it doesn't really. Okay, let me, let's say I only want my kitten or my main content to ever be like that big or something. I could also say below the 60%, I could say max width 600 pixels. Let's see if that'll work. Oh, I know what I'm trying to say. So now it's like my kitten's never gonna be bigger than I want it to be. It'll only expand to a certain size and then it'll kind of stay that size. Because sometimes you have designs that if they get too stretched out, they just look ridiculous. So you want to be able to stop them at a certain size. 800 might be a little easier to see. But this can happen a lot with designs that you want to be 100% width on a lot of screens until a certain point. So that's also something to think about. Like if you have, if you have like a 2-column design and after like 1024 that it's going to just look horrible, then you can kind of keep those parameters tight. Like, let's do it this way. Let's actually do 1024. So if I say I want this to be 100% wide, well, that's kind of weird, but I want it to be 100% wide, but I want the max width to be 1024. Oh, the padding's, oh, okay, the padding's getting weird. But what it'll do is I'm kind of using that background to fill in that extra space. I have a feeling this is going to go a lot better when you guys have an actual like example of when this would be most useful. Because right now I'm like, giant kitten image, not really like putting across the point I'm trying to make. So we'll just like table that and remember that that's an option, that you can limit the width of stuff. Okay, I'm gonna stop babbling in a bit. So yeah, check in on what is due so far this week. If you haven't sent me homework 1, we can meet after this if you have some issues that you need to resolve. Let's see, there's a bunch of videos for you to watch that is kind of like adding on to our intro to HTML last week, that are just sort of helping you adjust your homepage. We'll be working on getting like multi-column layouts on Wednesday. So tonight, end of day, I'll have a video on Flexbox, which is some CSS code to allow you to have multiple boxes within like the same, like it lets you flow things horizontally. And project 1, get started on it. It's due October 23rd, which is like week 5. And I should also just say that like this class, the goal of this class is for me to make you like coding. It's not for me to be the mean professor and torture you and make you feel bad about yourself because you're not good enough. Code is for everyone. I love code. I've been self-taught in it forever, and not because I'm smart, because I'm stubborn, and because I want to make things and share them with the world. And the web is a really kind of magical place where you have access to share your stuff with everyone for free or virtually free. And so I feel like it's this incredible platform. And so, yeah, that's my goal, is to make you love this. And so I have deadlines so that we can keep on a schedule, and I can like expose you to all the stuff I want to expose you to. I'm really not a stickler for deadlines. I just really don't want to take them away because I don't want you to fall too far behind and get frustrated. So yeah, and if you're feeling uncomfortable, perfect. Be like, get comfortable with uncomfortableness, because it's my whole life. Yeah, okay, so I'm gonna stop babbling. Any last questions before we sign off? Again, if you want to stay and go over things that are bugging you. Otherwise, go watch some videos and think about your project, and make some mood boards and wireframes. Wireframes will be the homework assignment. Good. Okay. Make awesome crap. I feel like I can't say the S word, but C is fine. It's the same stuff. Okay, signing off. I'll see you guys Wednesday. Bye.
Bye.